Hey everybody, Aesop's here from Champion NFT Gaming. I'm currently at 90 scholars, going to be pushing 100 scholars by either Christmas or the end of the month, and I want to talk to you guys about whether I think it's worth buying scholarship teams right now with the price of SLP and Axie on the marketplace. So let's get right into it, guys. The first thing I want to talk about is a team comp. First one we're going to go over here is a Bird Beast Plant team comp. I like this plant a lot personally. You'll notice I have beach and watering can are two things that are unique from what you see a lot out there. The reason for this is I feel like beach you can get a lot more value out of consistently, whereas cactus, if you don't go last, you get a lot less value out of cactus compared to beach. So that's why I personally like it. A lot of the times, especially if you're in the lower MMR brackets, you see people attacking right off the bat, and so you can play a beach round one, round two, and get a lot of value out of this card. Watering can as well at those lower MMRs, you're able to see a lot of AAP teams, a lot of Aquas in some form in the teams, and that really is a hard counter to Aquas. So while you do get a little bit less shield than something like a Pumpkin, you also get a little bit of damage and you help counter Aquas. So I think this is a great card that helps boost the MMR on my scholars. I mean, right now, I think our average scholar is sitting around 1,400, 1,500 MMR. So this is one of those cards that really helps keep people in the higher MMRs, helps them earn more SLP and avoid those lower brackets. So right here, I want to talk to you guys as well and just show off this tool really quick. This is axielabs.io. I'll definitely put a link in the description down below for those of you who want to use this, but you can see over time, this thing's awesome because you can actually enter a team build. So what I did here is I entered in a plant, any breed count, price over the past 30 days with those body parts. What we're able to see is that prices went from about $300, they jumped up to $340, and right now on average we're down closer to that basically $200 price point for these Axies. So prices have definitely come down a lot and you can get some cheap Axies. As we continue on here, here's the bird. This is a pretty standard backdoor bird. I think it's a great value option right now, honestly. I mean, coming in at $200, this is a pretty solid card, or set of cards. This has a lot of outplay potential. It doesn't take a ton of skill to get a base level of use out of this team, but if you do have a ton of skill, I had a guy who used this exact team comp that I'm showing you here today. He pushed to 2k MMR. So that's insane. I mean, this team comp in total at the end here is going to be $600 for a 2k MMR team versus a highly skilled player. So that's a great thing to be able to see out there. As we get into a beast, here's one of my favorites. You guys probably don't see it a lot out there, but a hero dual blade double nut. This allows a lot of damage to come out between hero and dual blade. You're able to get the card draw with hero. It really helps just kill down their tanks significantly well. So I personally really love this a lot more than a Ronin Imp combo. Because the problem with the Ronin Imp combo is it's so card dependent, whereas this, the only thing that's really card dependent is your Nutcrackers, being able to stack those together for your 120% combo bonus. So otherwise, this set, you could play it a lot of different ways. It's a lot more versatile, whereas a Ronin Imp, you have to play those two together, otherwise you really aren't getting the value out of it. You're able to actually get a 45 speed, so you want to have either bird eyes and aqua ears or something like that, so you can get 45 speed. This one as well is coming in just under $200, so again, another great deal, which brings us total team cost to about $600. So let's hop over right now to a spreadsheet and show you guys some of these numbers. So what I took up here, we're just going to run through some highlighted key points here. So I said initial cost is about $600, which is what this team cost. SLP right now, if we show you this one, right now SLP's, well, actually it's going up a little bit right now, so I can update this, but at the time I started preparing for this video, we were about 3.3 cents. So that's the number I have right here. What I have is this first week. This is the week when scholars are getting familiar with the team. They're leveling up their axes, doing things like that. They're not going to be able to earn a ton of SLP. So it's important to acknowledge that. So this first week, 75, they're just doing their adventure, leveling up their axes and doing their daily quest. Hopefully doing some extra arena battles to learn the team more, but they're not going to be earning SLP from that. So first week here, we have a lower SLP count, and then after that, I have that scholars should be able to earn 150 SLP per day. And the reason for this is, again, this team comp is able, between your watering can and this unique this unique beast, you should be able to stay above 1300 MMR, which allows scholars at a 50% win rate to earn 150 SLP a day. So I think it's very realistic, and it's important to note that some scholars just won't be able to do it. I mean, I've had scholars where with the same team comp, we've had that one guy I mentioned who pushed 2K MMR, and I've had others that dropped to 500 MMR. So there's some people that just don't know what they're doing. They don't care. There's a wide range of things that happen, but not every scholar is going to succeed. And that's important to note because a lot of projections you'll see out there, and even this one, use some factor of assuming scholars are going to, on average, have some success. And this is assuming that you get the guy, he comes in, they're able to do well, and you don't have to replace them. So that's important to note. What we can see here, this is assuming a 50% reward set, so 50% to you, 50% to the scholar. I am not casting judgment on anybody who uses different numbers. I personally actually use a different number than this. I have lots of incentives on the side, like top MMRs, get an extra cut. I do tournaments. I do all kinds of stuff for my guys, but that's me personally. No judgment on you guys with whatever numbers you use. This just makes the numbers nice and clean and easy for us to look at. So using a 50% on this, and basically what this equates to is 150% ROI on the investment, return on investment, and it also shows an ROI time, or time where you're going to be collecting revenue, collecting enough SLP to equate your investment of 242 days. So this puts us, as we scroll down here, this is total collected. So this is assuming that, you know, we get the money coming in here every week as this shows, and then we're totaling those up. So adding, you know, the total from the previous and then adding the new week's number in. If we go down here, we basically ROI down here, which is 36 weeks in, you're about 9 months out. So quite a ways out compared to what things used to be. I know when I was buying teams all the way back in August, we were looking at a 3.5 to 4 month ROI on teams. So definitely your ROI timeline has extended out. However, it's also important to note SLP price is really low right now, and I'm sure you guys know about that, as that's the big talk of the community. But if SLP price was to double or triple, like I think it will over the next 3 months, and you guys are feel free to check out my past video I just put out about my SLP price predictions. But next month, I don't expect a lot of movement, but when you look 3 months out or so, I expect SLP to double or triple in price. And so that takes your ROI from a 9-month to potentially down to a 3-month ROI. So that's something that's important to note, is you can get in right now fairly cheap on a team. I know just a month ago, I was buying a lot of these teams at closer to $1,000 for this team. So it's definitely come down a lot. You guys can get in cheaper right now. So that's the ROI numbers. I think it's still pretty solid being able to get in here. I mean, 150% ROI. Even if SLP continue to drop a little bit, it's not too bad. I mean, let's change this out for 2 cents just for the heck of it. You still make your money back in pretty close to a year. So there still is some room where I think it's reasonable. Once you drop below 100% ROI, I don't see it as worth it because you do have a lot more risk with Axie than you would other things. So while the number of ROI that we can show on the spreadsheet might be higher, that's not accounting for all the risks that comes with Axie Infinity. I mean, all you have to do is pull up the 90-day chart on SLP and just see that it has not been a good time for SLP. It looks even worse if we go out to 180 days back when I was starting to buy teams. Right in here, 20 cents to 15 cents price range for SLP. It's looking a lot worse from that, and it doesn't take rocket science to notice that. I mean, I was talking about the other day in my SLP price prediction video, we're down 75% on the value of SLP right now since 6 months ago. So it's pretty rough right now, guys. Which is what I'm getting at here with this risk factor, is there's not really any companies that you can go and invest in the stock market or something that are taking this hard of a hit this fast right now. Well, a lot of companies are actually up. So there's a lot more risk here. So I would want personally over 100% ROI on this spreadsheet to account for those risks. Okay, so that's some of that stuff. I wanted to get into some key lessons that I've learned as I've been doing this. So first off, I started out with about 5 teams. As I was building up the first 25 teams, I did the exact same team comp. So I did AAP at the time was really strong. As many of you know, the season 19 buffs and nerfs changed that quite a bit. So for me, I ended up losing quite a bit of money from that because at the time I think I had 30, 35 scholarships and 25 of them were AAP. Well, each Axie on that team lost like $100 of value right away. So that was a pretty painful one to experience. So I would recommend diversifying in a couple different team comps. And a great way to find some other team comps. I mean, today we went over the Bird Beast Plant, but you can actually go to this website right here. And again, I'll include this link in the description down below as well. But AxieInfinity.xyz, this website, you can actually click over here to the leaderboard, and this will give you the top players based on rank and what their team comp is. So what you can see over here on the right, if there's this green check mark, this means that you can actually buy all 3 of these Axies. And then it shows you the price, what their rank is in leaderboard, and what MMR. It says ELO, but it's what MMR they have right now. And you can go ahead and look through this and find one. I mean, right here, number 4, he's at 3,400 MMR, and his team's only $600. So there's definitely some budget options in here. Although it is important to consider that some of this requires an extremely high level play to be able to succeed. So there's a difficulty ceiling that needs to be understood as well. I mean, like I tried to give out, for example, this aqua right here, this Cuckoo aqua. My guys were struggling with this, and I don't blame them for it. You have to play a very unique play style, and there's not a lot of information available out there for scholars to look to as to how to do it. So that's something else to consider is, can a scholar learn based on the information out there how to play the team or not? So that's something to think of. Again, like I mentioned earlier, you also have to understand on these numbers here, this is assuming that this scholar is able to play straight through 7 days a week. I mean, this is making some assumptions that are not realistic. I mean, right now it's typhoon season in the Philippines, so I have guys who are losing connection for a week at a time because of the typhoons, and that's outside of their control. I don't blame them at all for that, and not taking their scholarship for that. There's no repercussions, but it's important to understand that you're going to be missing weeks. They're going to have days off. They're going to get sick. There's things that are going to happen where these numbers are not going to work perfectly. And again, that's where adjusting for that risk of what's realistically going to happen, you want to have on a perfect situation 100% ROI projections, because the reality is you might then end up actually at about a 50% ROI. And that's, I mean, that's still a solid ROI if you can end there at the end of the day after all the risks and things happen. So that's something I want to talk about. I'm going to be putting a lot more information together. Like as I mentioned, I've been in this since back in July, really started getting into teams and buying teams back in August, and we've been buying consistently. We're over 90 teams right now, pushing 100 scholarships. And I've definitely learned a lot, had a lot of experience through that journey. So I'm going to be putting together some more information, hopefully in the next month or so. So feel free to join my Discord that's linked down below. But just to give you guys a little bit of taste here, let's talk about some of the software that I've used that's really helped enable me, and that I support fully. And none of this is sponsored at all, so feel free to check it out on your own time, see what you think about it. I know, first off here, we're going to talk about this Scholar Tracker Manager. So this thing is really awesome. It gives you a ton of information, or I can go ahead and see some of my top performing scholars. I can sort by SLP earnings, and some of these guys, what's important to note is I reward some of my top scholars with more Axies. It's actually showing everybody 0 Axies, so this is a bug right now, but some of these guys that are my top scholars, they have 10 Axies, so they have 40 energy, and that's how they're able to get so much SLP. But you can see, I can look through, I can see what their rank is, what their MMR, and you guys can actually see this here. I'll show you real quick. This is what I'm talking about. I mean, we have guys who drop accounts down to 500 MMR, and I don't know why it happens, but it does happen, and we then end up resolving that issue between us and them. But you're able to get tons of information on an overview sheet here. You can also then go into an individual scholar and get all this information. So right here we can see their average SLP, and I can change this from a 30-day average to the average since I last claimed their SLP. There's some options there. I can actually see their daily SLP charted out here, and their rank. What is their, it says ELO, but this is MMR, is the blue line. So what is their MMR over time, and how is this constantly changing? What is their team comp right here? This is that Bird Beast Plant team comp. This one does actually have Cactus. Like I said, diversify a little bit since I have so many team comps. Even though I prefer Beach, I like to get a couple things with Cactus just to protect myself in case they nerf Beach or something like that. So anyways, You're able to see tons of information here. You can see the total SLP, you can see SLP splits, you can get information on MMR brackets. This is a super useful tracker tool. I know some managers out there are having people manually report and then tracking it down in a Excel sheet, and that's a lot of work, whereas this automatically updates for me, which is really nice. And it does have some down days just like any other software, but overall this is hugely helpful. It definitely makes a huge difference in what I'm able to do. So that's the main things I got for you guys here today. We got these 3 different tools again: axielabs.io, you have axieinfinity.xyz, and then you have this tool, the tracker.axie management. All 3 of these software are really great. I've actually talked to the guy who put together this Scholar Tracker Manager, and this thing is awesome. He's a big community advocate. He doesn't want to take payouts from people. He just wants to help the community. So I really recommend you guys check this out. Support him if you can. Great guy. So those are the key things I wanted to get into. The last thing I want to talk about a little bit here is a little bit of a rant about what happens in the Axie community, some of the toxicity that's going on around how certain managers are handling things. So I want to break down some debate that's happening around SLP splits. And I just want to say again, like I said earlier, I don't judge people based on what splits they give as long as they have a solid reason behind it. I mean, something I've learned through building out 100 scholarships right now is we have a guy who was going to have to give up his daughter because he literally couldn't afford to feed himself and his daughter. He was going to have to give her up. But because he got his Axie scholarship, he's now one of my assistant managers. He's able to actually afford to feed his daughter, afford to feed himself, provide for his daughter. It totally changed his life being able to do Axie. I've had another family where it's a couple and their daughter who's in college right now. They were able to buy a new house through Axie Infinity. And I think it's important to understand that there's a very different situation going on in the Philippines and what's going on here in the US and other first world countries that a lot of us come from. And if we look at here, average salaries in the Philippines, we can see some different things. And here's the monthly salaries in terms of the Filipino currency, but also in US dollars for those of you who are more familiar with US dollars. You can see something like a security guard, they're only getting $338 a month. The construction workers, $370, teachers, $373, licensed professionals. I mean, this is at the point where you're getting college degrees, all that kind of stuff. You're still potentially around $1,000 a month. So being able to get, let's say, I mean, if we break this down on a daily basis, right? The construction worker, that's about $12 per day for construction worker. They don't have, and this is where it's important to understand, they don't have OSHA laws and things that protect them. So these construction workers, they very well can get hurt. I mean, this is back-breaking work that they're doing, manual labor. It's not enjoyable stuff. If they're doing a 6-hour workday, they might be doing an 8-hour workday, but let's say it's 6 hours, that's $2 an hour. So they could make, let's say, $4 a day playing Axie for 2 hours, the equivalent to $2 an hour, and they don't have to risk their personal safety to make money. That's a huge difference. And I think the problem is some of us come in with this interpretation that, oh my gosh, I wouldn't work for less than $10 an hour, but that's our economy. That's a very different situation. Whereas these guys are literally doing $2 an hour with backbreaking work that puts their health at risk. So it's a very different situation. And that's where I don't cast judgment on somebody. I mean, if SLP price shoots up and they're giving a 15% split, I mean, if that's giving these people $2 an hour for them to play a video game and not have to put their personal safety at risk, I don't cast judgment on that. I don't care if it's a 10% split, if it's a 50% split, as long as it's fair to these people with their time and what their earnings are in the Philippines. I mean, another thing is people have these conceptions. I know here in the US, our average home is somewhere between 1,200 and 1,500 square feet. Well, in the Philippines, if you look at this one, the poor communities, the average home size is 6.4 square meters, which equates to about 60 square feet. And that's smaller than most bedrooms in the US. That's the average home size for a Filipino family. And these numbers are important to understand as it gives you a better frame of reference of where are these guys coming from. It's not slave labor to pay them a couple bucks a day, $4 or $5 a day to play Axie for 2 hours. For us here in the US, that would be a huge problem. But for them, I mean, that's literally a living wage where people will go put their personal safety at risk to do construction work to feed their families. It's a totally different situation. And I think that's something important to understand. I mean, for myself personally, I give lower end splits than most people would like, but I also have yet to take a single dollar out. And actually, I'm currently negative on my investment with over coming close to 100 teams right now because I keep reinvesting in Axie, or I know I talked about Dayton Arena the other day, things like that that I see as opportunities to provide value to these guys, where I do hope at the end of the day to make some money, but I keep reinvesting to provide more opportunity to more people. So that's a little tangent, guys. At the end of the day, I think what's important is your intention behind it and your reasoning. If you guys know these numbers and you're making your splits according to these numbers, I don't see a problem with that personally. I mean, literally the numbers say that people are coming out here. They're either doing full-time work as a security guard, which requires some training. They're risking their personal safety as a construction worker. They're teachers, which require schooling. There's all these different things, and they could play Axie Infinity, play a video game, and make the same, if not more money, depending on where SOP prices are. If that's how your scholarship works out, more power to you. I think that's what's really important at the end of the day here, guys. So, anyways, little tangent there. Hopefully, you guys found some value with these different software I pointed out, talking about the ROI numbers that you can make with Axie Infinity here. And yeah, that's what I got for you guys today. Feel free to join my Discord. I'll put that in the description down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.